Parents paid for brother's DUI lawyers. I got nothing. Now I'm lawyer who won't take their calls. My phone is vibrating so hard it skitters across the bench outside courtroom 4B, and I'm standing there with my suit jacket half on, one heel off, trying to breathe like a human, while a reporter says my name like it's a breaking news headline. Counsel, just one question. Cameras. Lights. My colleague is waving me toward the elevators because security is already clocking the crowd forming, and the courthouse public affairs guy is doing that strained smile, like he regrets ever letting local media in the building. I swipe my screen, and it's pure chaos. 19 missed calls, 47 texts, 3 voicemails, and my inbox is full of subject lines that look like people shouting through glass. Interview request. Restatement? Congrats, call me. But the one that makes my stomach drop is the name on the incoming call, lighting up my screen like a ghost. Mum. She hasn't called me directly in years. Not like this. Not repeatedly. Not with that frantic rhythm like she's trying to dial through the decade we haven't spoken. I shove my phone into my palm, and my sister-in-law's name pops up on top of everything. Your dad is crying. Answer them. Then the family group chat, muted for years but never fully dead, wakes up like it's been waiting for this exact moment. Family. 86 new messages. The preview alone is a punch. That's our girl. I always knew she'd do big things. Call your parents right now. And then I see a link someone's dropped, posted with 3 flame emojis. It's a news clip. The headline is already on the screen. Local attorney wins landmark settlement in drunk driving case. My face is on it, frozen mid-sentence, eyes bright from adrenaline, looking like the kind of confident person I still don't fully recognize as me. The caption underneath, attorney says family deserves accountability. The clip autoplays, and I hear my own voice, steady, saying the words I've rehearsed for months, the words I've carried like a stone. Drunk driving isn't a mistake. It's a decision, and someone paid for it with their life. Behind me, someone says my name again, louder, and then my phone rings for the 3rd time in a row. Mum, again. And my dad's number starts calling immediately after like they're tag teaming. I can't even process it before another notification hits. A screenshot from Facebook, posted by my brother. Of course it is. Mark posted, so proud of my sister. She's always been the smart one. Family raised her right. Raised her right. I feel my jaw tighten so hard my teeth ache. My brother hasn't spoken to me in a decade, but he's already doing the thing he always does, standing in front of my life like he owns the entrance. My colleague Priya grabs my elbow. Hey, she says, low. We need to get you out before they corner you. There's already someone asking if you'll comment on the appeal. I nod like I'm listening, but my phone buzzes again. And now it's a voicemail notification from Dad, with the transcription preview right there on the lock screen. Please, please call. We need you. It's Mark. He's in trouble again. Again. My chest goes tight in a way that's familiar and ancient, like my body learned this reaction before my brain had words for it. We're moving now. Elevator, lobby, flashes of people turning their heads. But my family group chat is melting down in real time. Aunties typing in caps. Cousins tagging each other. Someone posts my headshot from the firm website, like they discovered me. And then, like the universe wants to make sure I don't miss the irony, my mother-in-law drops a message into the chat. Maybe now she'll remember who supported her. Supported me. I almost laugh. It comes out as a sharp exhale. My phone rings again. Mum, then Dad, then Mark, then an unknown number from my hometown, then another. My PR person is calling too. Our firm has a policy about media after a verdict like this, and I can see her name flashing while I'm juggling the kind of family emergency that always turns out to be my brother's mess. Then the humiliating thing resurfaces, because it always does when people smell weakness. Someone, I don't even know who, posts a screenshot into the family chat. It's old, 10 years old. It's my father texting me the day I asked for help with my law school deposit. Dad, we can't bail you out. Figure it out. You always think you deserve special treatment. Underneath it, my cousin adds, wait, why did he say this to you? The chat stutters for a second, like a crowd inhaling before a fight. And that's when I stop walking. Right there in the courthouse lobby, with the cameras and the reporters, and my colleague tugging my sleeve, I stop. Because my hands are shaking, not from fear, not exactly, but from the sheer audacity of my family trying to crawl into my spotlight, the same day they're asking me to clean up the mess they've been funding my whole life. My PR person finally gets through, and I answer with my voice low and tight. I can't talk, I say. My family is blowing up. She pauses like she's heard that sentence 100 times from different people, with different families. Are they coming here? She asks. I look up and my stomach drops, because across the lobby I can see my parents. I can see Mum's hair, Dad's shoulders, moving fast like they own the building, scanning like they're hunting me. And behind them, like a shadow that never leaves, Mark. He looks older, thicker in the face. Same posture, though. Same swagger that says the world owes him a softer landing. He spots me, and his face breaks into this wide smile, like we're in a reunion video. He lifts his arms like he's about to hug me. I step back. Mum reaches me first. She grabs my forearm like she's entitled to it. Sweetheart, she says, breathless, eyes shiny, like she's auditioning for a concerned mother role she hasn't rehearsed in years. We need you. Please. It's Mark. Dad is right behind her, voice already pitching into panic. He didn't mean it, Dad blurts, as if we're still talking about that old text. He didn't mean any of it. This is bigger. He's been arrested. They're saying it's serious. Mark tries to step forward, still smiling. Sis, he says, like the decade between us is a joke. Look at you. Big time. He glances at the cameras, then back to me. So, you can help, right? Like, you're literally a lawyer. I can feel my pulse in my ears. I can smell the courthouse air, that sterile recycled air that always makes my throat dry. I hear a reporter say my name again. Closer now. My PR person is still on the phone, whispering, "Do not engage. Do not let them pull you into a scene." Mark leans in, voice dropping like he's about to make this brother-sister private. It's just a DUI, he says quickly. Blown out of proportion. You know how cops are. I need you to talk to someone, make it go away. My mother's nails dig into my arm. Please, she whispers. We already paid a retainer, but... She cuts herself off like she's said too much. Paid a retainer? Of course. I look at them. My mother in her panic mask. My father sweating. My brother trying to charm his way out of consequences. And something inside me goes perfectly still. I pull my arm out of Mum's grip. Gently. Deliberately. Like I'm removing myself from a trap. I'm not your lawyer, I say. Dad's face shifts immediately into anger, like he can't stand hearing me use a complete sentence. Don't do this, he snaps. Not today. Not in front of people. Mark laughs once, a short, ugly sound. "Oh my God," he says. "You're still on that? Seriously? You're going to punish me forever?" "Punish you," I repeat, and my voice is too steady for how my hands feel. I open my phone, not to call anyone, but to do the one bold thing I've never done in front of them. I stop letting them control the narrative. I turn my screen toward Mum and Dad and Mark. I show them the family chat screenshot. Dad's text telling me to figure it out. Then I scroll and show them another. Mum's message from the year before. "We can't help you with school. Mark needs us more right now." Then I tap one more thing, the one I kept for exactly a day like today. The bank transfer receipt my mother accidentally forwarded to me years ago. The payment to Mark's DUI attorney with the note. For Mark, urgent. I don't raise my voice. I don't cry. I just say, "You paid for his lawyers. Twice. You told me to figure it out. Today is not the day you pretend we're the same." Mum's mouth opens, then closes. Dad's face goes red. Mark's smile dies like someone unplugged it. And right there, in the courthouse lobby, with the cameras close enough that I can see a lens reflecting my face back at me, I step back again, and I say it loud enough that my PR person hears it through the phone, and the reporter's microphone catches it anyway. "Stop calling me. Stop posting about me. And don't ever show up at my work again." To understand why this feels unreal, you need to know what my parents were doing every time Mark got in trouble, and what they said to me when I asked for even a fraction of that support. Mark got his first DUI when he was 22. He'd been out with friends, smashed his car into a median, blew over the limit, and called my dad from the holding cell like it was a minor inconvenience. I was 19, halfway through my undergrad, working weekends at a cafe and trying to save, because I already knew my family didn't do help evenly. I remember my dad pacing the kitchen with the phone pressed to his ear, saying, "It's okay, son. It's okay," in a voice I'd never heard him use for me. Mum cried like Mark was the victim of a random tragedy. They stayed up all night Googling lawyers. They moved money around. They sold Mum's old jewelry. They called in favors. They found the best DUI attorney they could afford because, in their words, Mark can't have this ruin his future. Nobody said that sentence about mine. Nobody ever panicked about my future. My future was assumed to be fine, as long as I stayed quiet and grateful and low maintenance. When I found out how much the lawyer cost, I didn't even know what to do with the number. It was more than my entire semester's tuition. Mum said it like it was normal. "It's what parents do," she said, wiping her eyes. Then she looked at me and added, "Don't judge him. Boys make mistakes. Boys make mistakes. Girls create drama." Mark's DUI became a family secret, not because they were ashamed of drunk driving, because they were ashamed of people thinking Mark wasn't golden. He still went to family events. He still got praised for being ambitious. Dad still told relatives, "Mark is going places." If anyone asked why he didn't drive for a while, Mum would laugh and say, "Oh, he's being responsible, saving money." They rewrote reality like it was a reflex. Meanwhile, I was applying for internships and scholarships and trying to figure out how to get into law school without drowning. I didn't grow up dreaming of being a lawyer in some dramatic, I always wanted justice way. It was more practical than that. I saw how easily my family could twist a story and make someone the villain, and I wanted a language they couldn't bulldoze. I wanted receipts, paper, procedure. A place where, because I said so, didn't count. When I got accepted into law school, I told my parents at dinner. I still remember the moment because it's burned into my muscles. I slid the acceptance letter across the table, hands sweating, trying to smile like this was normal. Mum glanced at it and said, "That's nice." Dad nodded and said, "Okay." Mark barely looked up from his phone. Then Dad said, "How much is it?" In that tone that wasn't curiosity, it was calculation. I told them the deposit amount, and Mum immediately made a face like I'd insulted her. "That's ridiculous," she said. "Why would you pick something so expensive?" "It's law school," I said, trying to laugh it off. It's an investment." Dad shrugged. "You'll figure it out," he said. "You're smart." And that was the entire celebration. You're smart. As in, you won't inconvenience us. A month later, Mark got his second DUI. Worse this time. He'd been pulled over near his mate's place, argued with the officer, refused the breath test at first, then failed it anyway. The penalties jumped. The lawyer fees jumped too. Mum cried again. Dad got quiet and grim. And suddenly every spare dollar in the house had a destination. I asked for help with my deposit 2 days after I found out about the second DUI. I didn't even ask for the full amount. I asked for a loan I would pay back. I did it over text because I was scared my voice would crack in person and they'd call me dramatic. Dad replied with the line that ended something in me. "We can't bail you out. Figure it out." Then he added, "Mark needs us right now. Don't be selfish. Selfish. For wanting school. For wanting the chance to build a life that wasn't dependent on their moods." I figured it out the way they told me to. I took out loans. I worked 2 jobs. I lived with roommates who stole my milk. I ate noodles. I skipped nights out. I went to class exhausted and sat in the library until it closed. Not because I was inspirational, but because I was terrified of failing and being told, "See? We knew you couldn't do it." I didn't tell my family when I made Dean's List. I didn't tell them when I got my internship. I stopped giving them pieces of my life because every piece became something they could use to judge, compare, or claim. Mark, on the other hand, wore his mistakes like a temporary inconvenience. He'd joke about his interlock device. He'd call it a scam. He'd tell people he got unlucky. And because my parents treated him like a wounded hero, he stayed convinced he was. The family dinners during those years were a special kind of hell. Mark would show up late, louder than everyone, and Dad would brighten like the sun came out. Mum would fuss over him. "Did you eat?" And then look at me like I was being weird if I didn't join the worship. If I mentioned I was tired from work and school, Mark would smirk and say, "Maybe don't overcomplicate your life." If I said I couldn't come to a cousin's birthday because I had finals, Mum would sigh and say, "You always think you're better than us." Mark would laugh and say, "She's going to sue us one day." Ha ha, ha ha. Then there was the part no one likes to talk about. Mark didn't just drink and drive. He drank and drove and then acted like the world owed him forgiveness. He used people. He lied. He borrowed money and forgot to repay it. He'd call me at 2 a.m., asking for a lift because he couldn't drive, and if I said no, he'd call me a stuck-up bitch. Once, when I refused to give him money for food, he texted, "You'll always need my help. Don't forget who I am." Like he'd ever helped me with anything besides making my childhood smaller. The day I stopped speaking to him wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, which is why it lasted. I'd just finished my first year of law school. I was broke, sleep-deprived, and proud in that secret way you get when you've survived something nobody in your family understands. I came home for a weekend because Mum guilted me. We never see you. And Mark cornered me in the kitchen while Mum was in the backyard. He'd been drinking. He was holding a beer and leaning on the counter like he owned the house, like he owned me. "You think you're special now," he said, voice lazy. "I don't," I said, reaching for a glass. He laughed. "You do," he said. "You're going to come crawling back when you realize you can't handle it. You'll always need my help." Something in me just went flat. I put the glass down. I looked at him and said, "Don't talk to me again." He blinked like he didn't understand. Then he smiled. "Mean." "Ah," he said. "Big words." I left. I didn't announce it. I didn't slam doors. I just walked out and drove back to my tiny apartment with my stomach in knots. And I didn't answer his calls after that. When he texted, I didn't reply. When Mum tried to mediate, I said, "I'm done." When Dad told me I was being cruel, I said, "Then you can be his family. I'm not." They acted like I'd cut off my brother for a fight. They never acknowledged the pattern. They never acknowledged the years of disrespect. They just wanted the silence back, the kind where they could pretend everything was fine. So I let them have silence. I built my life inside it. I graduated. I passed the bar. I got my first job at a firm that paid me just enough to breathe. I took pro bono cases because I couldn't forget what it felt like to be treated like you didn't deserve help. I didn't become a lawyer to save my family. I became one to save myself. There's a difference. The first time my parents tried to rewrite history was the day they realized my career sounded impressive to other people. Mum started telling relatives, "She gets it from me." Dad started saying, "I always pushed her." Mark, who I hadn't spoken to, posted a photo of my graduation from someone else's account and wrote, "Proud of my sister," as if he'd been cheering me on instead of telling me I'd fail. I didn't correct it publicly then. I just watched. I watched them attach themselves to my milestones like barnacles. I watched them soften their language around me when other people were present. I watched them call me only when they wanted something. "Can you look at this contract? Can you explain this letter? Can you talk to Mark's friend's cousin about a speeding ticket?" Always small at first, like testing the water. I said no, over and over. Polite, short. No. Then this case happened. A drunk driver hit a family on a wet night and killed a young father. The kind of case that makes your stomach hurt because you know how ordinary the decision was that caused it. I represented the family in the civil suit. We fought hard. We got a settlement big enough to make headlines, big enough that my face ended up on local news saying accountability. And the same day that clip starts circulating, my parents show up at my courthouse because Mark has done it again. Not just a DUI, a third one. This time with a collision, this time with injuries, this time with the kind of charge that doesn't get smoothed over with money and a good lawyer. They want me to fix it the way they've always fixed it. Throw resources at Mark, then demand everyone else pretend it wasn't real. They want me to be the lawyer who saves the golden boy. Here's the part that makes me feel sick even writing it. Mum tried to guilt me with the exact same language she used for Mark's first DUI. "He can't have this ruin his future," she sobbed in the courthouse lobby, clutching my sleeve like I belonged to her. "He'll lose everything." I looked at her, and I said, "He should. Dad's face twisted like he couldn't believe I'd say that out loud. Mark's eyes went cold. "So, that's it?" Mark said. "You're going to let me go to jail?" "I'm not letting you do anything," I said. "You did it." That's when Dad hissed, "After everything we did for you." And I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was insane. "Everything," I repeated. "Name one thing you paid for." He couldn't. He literally couldn't. He opened his mouth, closed it, looked at Mum like she might save him. And Mum started crushing harder, like tears could substitute for facts. So I did what I should have done 10 years ago. I stopped arguing with emotion. I stuck to reality. I told them I wouldn't represent Mark. Not because I was being spiteful, because ethically, I can't represent him. Because I don't want to represent him. Because I am not the family cleanup crew. Dad started shouting. Mum started begging. Mark started calling me names under his breath. People stared. Cameras turned. Someone whispered, "Is that her? Family?" Like it was a juicy twist. My PR person was texting me, "Do not engage," like a mantra. And then, because my family cannot stand losing control privately, they tried to control it publicly. Mum posted on Facebook within an hour, some vague sob story about a mother's heartbreak, and family turning their backs. Dad texted cousins asking them to talk sense into me. Mark reposted my news clip with the caption, "Funny how she profits off drunk driving cases, but won't help her own brother." That last one made my blood go ice cold. So I answered once, not with rage, with a fact. I posted a short statement on my own page, comments off, names not tagged, just clean and sharp. "I will not represent family members. Please respect my boundaries. If you need legal representation, contact a lawyer unrelated to me." Then I took screenshots of Mark's post and filed them away. Because I learned long ago, if someone is willing to smear you publicly, you keep records. The final twist, the gut punch, came later that night, after the courthouse adrenaline wore off, and I was sitting at my kitchen table with my laptop open, still in my work clothes, staring at my phone like it might bite me. An email came in from an unfamiliar attorney. Subject line, "Conflict check. Mark, last name." I opened it and felt my whole body go cold. The attorney was from the firm my parents hired, the same DUI defense guy they've used before. He was doing a conflict check because of the civil case tied to Mark's arrest, because the injured party, the person Mark hit this time, was someone represented by my firm, not by me, by a colleague down the hall, which meant my parents didn't just show up asking for help. They showed up asking me to go against the exact kind of accountability I'd been on TV talking about that morning. They were asking me to protect Mark from consequences while I was literally becoming known for holding drunk drivers accountable. It wasn't irony. It was entitlement with perfect timing. Mum called again. Dad called again. Mark called from a private number. I watched it ring. My heartbeat steady this time, not frantic. I didn't answer. Instead, I typed one message. One. To all three of them in a group text so nobody could twist it later. "Do not contact me about Mark's case. I will not represent him. Do not come to my workplace again. Any further contact should be in writing only." Then I blocked Mark. Then I blocked the private number when it rang again. Then I muted my parents. My hands shook afterward, not because I regretted it, but because my body still thinks setting a boundary is dangerous. The next morning, my dad left one last voicemail from a different number. His voice sounded older than I remembered. Not softer, just older. "You think you're better than us," he said. "After all we sacrificed." I listened to the whole thing. I didn't cry. I didn't argue with it in my head. I just deleted it. And when my phone buzzed with another incoming call, Mum again, I watched it ring all the way through, screen lighting up, fading, lighting up again, like a final test of whether I'd fold the way I used to. I let it stop on its own. Then I put my phone face down, opened my laptop, and drafted an email to my building security. If Mark, last name, or my parents attempt to access our floor, do not permit entry. Contact me directly. Quiet. Clean. Done. Because the truth is, they didn't raise a lawyer who would save the golden boy. They raised a lawyer who finally learned how to say no and mean it.